about. So real quick, I'll go over the agenda. Gunnar, you want to cover, you had a great trade in the trading desk with Square. So we want to look at that, see how you entered, exited, and took a profit on there. We want to talk about semiconductors, keep going up. We want to talk about crypto because it's burning higher. And then we want to maybe get into the commodities. We've got gold, copper, silver, all looking very strong. And then if we have time, we could get a little bit into oil. So real quick, I'll do our normal disclaimers. We're going to be covering investing on the call, so it should go without saying that all investing has risk, and nothing that myself, Gunnar, covers on the call should be considered personalized investment advice.
Well, first of all, let's just do a quick hit on the market right here. Interesting day today, brewing again so far. We have semis in the red and tech down a little bit. Go figure, because yesterday, as we talked about in the chat, we were back on the same old, same old. It just felt like it was a day where, okay, big tech is catching higher. The Magnificent Seven weren't the lag seven anymore. They were moving higher. Semiconductors were rolling again. It just, the train won't stop. And now today we're seeing the exact opposite there. So I think we're in the middle of kind of a stop and start type of rotation, type of market rotation. This is a big theme that I've been discussing for several months now that I think is slowly starting to play out. And we're starting to see that today with some of these commodities that are moving higher again. But before we get into all that, let's talk about our Square trade. We were just able to exit today on this nice big green candle that's been forming. I think we actually did a little bit better than the prices right now. It is fading a little bit from those highs right there. But this was a really, really good trade. It wasn't the perfect entry on my part. I think we could have done a little bit better if I had timed it a little better, but that's just me Monday morning quarterbacking the situation. This was close to a clean double for us. I know some of you probably did better than that, but officially I think this was around 95 to 100% gain on this play in a little over 2 weeks right there, maybe a little under 2 weeks. I don't know the exact day, but you can see here the area of interest we were looking at. It was this $80 mark on Square. And this was what I like to call an earnings drifter play. These type of plays can be very explosive. And again, I try to take a lot of the risk out of these by not making these big binary bets on earnings. We didn't go into the Square earnings announcement assuming that it was going to blast higher. It could have gone either way. It could have been down 16% rather than up 16% the day that it released earnings. We did not know how the market would react to those numbers. It just so happened that the numbers were good, the market liked it, and the stock shot higher by more than 15% on the day, right back up to that $80 mark, which was where it turned south after the big melt-up rally had commenced from November into December right there. That was a big area of resistance. These areas of resistance, it's not anything magical right here. This is simply an area where sellers are popping up, and there's more sellers coming out saying, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to sell. I'm going to try to sell here because I think this is as high as this stock is going to go. And you can see what happened. That's the exact same thing that happened on the day of earnings. It spiked up here into the $82 range, and then some sellers came in and sold it back down. The next day, it was down about 5%. More people were selling on the earnings news, and then it started to just creep back higher again. And this is where we attempted to get into this play, right around in here, as it began to push back above $80 again, because my thinking was, okay, we're creeping back toward that $80 range. We're eventually going to chew through all of this supply. And by that, I mean, we're eventually going to push through all those people who want to sell at $80. We did encounter a little bit of a hiccup last week where you can see when growth stocks were getting pummeled and everybody was piling back into semiconductors. The exact same thing happened to Square, and it was down 2 days in a row pretty big, but it managed to recover and not close that earnings gap and then push back higher. The Friday move was absolutely perfect. We got the close above $80 that we've been looking for. And then finally, we got the big green candle today. This is the type of action that I like to sell on right here. Do I think that Square can go higher from here? Absolutely. I think it's breaking out on multiple time frames here. If we pull back all the way, I could actually extend this line all the way back here. into the earlier part of 2023 right there. But I like to take profits on these shorter term options plays into strength. We had a nice big pop in the morning. You remember what happened the day before, where it popped up toward, what was it, $83 and then started to retreat. So I didn't want to be in a situation where we had a nice big morning rip again, where it started giving back a lot of those gains. And so when I saw that we were up almost 5% earlier this morning in the chat, took the profits off the table, booked almost a clean double on this very short-term options trade. And you can see how these earnings drifter plays tend to play out. If you can find these stocks that gap up big on earnings, that are forming these big bases right here, and there's obviously a change of character in the stock, then you can grab onto these drifter type moves where you have these people that are coming late to the party and they're saying, oh man, you know, things are turning around at Square, things are looking a lot better, or Block, or whatever you want to call it. I still call it Square. But they say things are turning around, something's different about this play, and you start to get the FOMO people rushing in. And I really think that this is one of those names that could run. I mean, it's been depressed for so long. It was one of the worst stocks on the market back during the 2022 bear market. It did not recover in 2023. In fact, it pushed to new lows. So this could be one of those plays where it just keeps on snowballing, and we can go back to the well, and maybe once it consolidates, after it pushes maybe closer toward 90 within a few weeks, we can come back and reconsider another short-term trade on this particular stock. I really like plays like this that are doing a few important things. They're breaking out. They are moving post earnings announcement. They're moving kind of against the narrative. Nobody really likes this stock right here. Robert's asking, was this a Bitcoin driven move? I'm not really sure if it was or not. It's really difficult to say, like with a stock like Square that is involved kind of in crypto, but is also, you know, part of the payment sector too. So we have sort of a bunch of different like groups it sort of trades places within. I think that if this was more of a Bitcoin move, it would have performed a lot better in late 2023, and it wouldn't have gotten trashed so badly when Bitcoin was starting to come back a little bit. So maybe it's kind of decoupled from there. I don't think it's a traditional like move that kind of hold hands and walks wherever crypto walks. But I do think, you know, that might have some sort of effect on it. But the reason that I like plays like this again is because it's a post-earnings mover. It looked like it could drift higher. It was breaking key levels of resistance on multiple time frames, and it was a relatively easy play to get into. We didn't have to do any crazy big chasing. We weren't chasing after some big candle. And, you know, running into any type of trouble, you know, with major pullbacks like that. Yeah, we had a little bit of a hiccup right there when it turned south, but it didn't break any major levels of support. The drift still looked like it was in play. Again, it's great to see plays like this work out. It's good to see the market starting to turn a little bit. I know that the semis and all that stuff are hogging all the spotlight and that they're up big. And it's really tough to ignore that. And everybody has their eye on like Nvidia going to $1,000 and all that. However, the music is going to stop on these FOMO semiconductor and big tech trades eventually, and I think they're getting long in the tooth. I thought they were going to quit a couple weeks ago, and somehow they're, you know, this train is still running. It's on fumes, but it's still going, and they're still pushing. And you know, kudos to anybody that's done well on those stocks. I just don't see any type of play that we could put on the long side on any of those semiconductors. Maybe look for something on the short side, but even that is a very difficult trade right now. And so instead, I've shifted my focus into the stuff that could start working even better once those hot money trades slow down. You have to keep in mind that in bull market environments, which we're still in, you know, you can call this frothy, you can call it a bubble, you can call it all kinds of stuff. We are in a bull market environment. The charts are going up for the most part. So we need to be on the lookout for rotation. What generally happens in bull markets is you have strong leadership groups, and then when they start to fade or level off, the hot money is going to flow into other places around the market to try to, you know, compound. That's just what happens. People see these plays like Nvidia, like AMD, like SMCI, like Meta and Microsoft and these other stocks that are just ripping higher, and they ride them as long as they can. And then when those plays stop working, whether they go down or whether they go sideways or whatever it is, they move on to the next hot trade. What is that next hot trade going to be? I think tech growth, like these big bases that Square had, I thought that could be some of the next big trades. I think small caps could still be some of those next big trades right there. I think people might start looking down the cap scale, looking at mid caps, looking at small caps, since these big stocks have just been dominating everywhere you look. IWM, this is the iShares Russell 2000 ETF right here. It had a rough start to the year. Took a hard reset after trying to catch up right here. I still think the catch-up trade is in play for the S&P. No, I don't think that the S&P 500 is going to be up 5% a month, all year. I don't think that's how it's going to roll. We're going to have pullbacks. We're going to have little mini corrections along the way. We're going to have months that are a struggle. We're going to have some months that scare people. That's just how the market goes. That is the fee. That is your entrance fee for playing this game, the stock markets. You're going to get some of that volatility. That's part of the deal. When those events happen, I think that they could hand the baton off to small caps, and we could see small caps begin to catch up to large caps. You can see here, look just how far away we are from those fall 2021 peaks in the Russell 2000. That's a heck of a long way off. This has a ton of work to do before it's even coming close to printing new highs. Whereas we look at the S&P, started printing new highs in late January and hasn't looked back. So I think there is money to be made in the small, and yeah, Robert says, wouldn't it be better after a modest pullback? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying we should hop on anything right now. I'm just looking at the market in a broad context here and saying like, okay, what exactly is going to happen? What's our opportunity here? And how can we make money off of this trend? Now, this breakout right here, a lot of people were watching this on Friday and saw this kind of decoupling from the rest of the market. We had a lot of stuff that was up, and then IWM kind of flamed out right there and saying, uh-oh, we're going to get a false breakout situation here. Entirely possible, but it is bouncing today. I want to see how we extend off of this 205 area that acted as resistance back in late December, and that gave us a little bit of trouble right here. We are poking our head above that, but can we put in a low right here and really push off of there to see if this thing gets moving in the right direction? I think small caps could be a good trade at some point. We've talked about small caps, talked about small biotech potentially being a good trade. It's kind of the same deal. We had this massive gap, this big, almost 6% gain on the day here back in the end of February, and it's faded and filled that gap ever since. Can we get a nice bounce off that, and can that move higher? I think these are two potentially explosive trades that we can kind of keep our eye on and kind of build off of. Maybe not necessarily buy these, but maybe there's individual stocks that we need to look at, something tangential to these groups. But this is where I'm really focusing some of my attention on some of the speculative stuff. These are the names that could pop. This is the stuff that could really catch up to the NASDAQ. And, look at the NASDAQ 100. This thing is cruising. This is way too easy right here. It's not up every single day. We know that. But there have not been any worrisome pullbacks in big tech. There's nothing that's shaken anybody out. If you are in any of those big tech names right here that just keep on pushing higher, there's no little devil on your shoulder telling you, hey, you got to sell right now, you're going to lose all your money. None of that's happened yet in this market right here. There hasn't been that big scary moment. We haven't seen, a 4 or 5% pullback, much less a 7, 8, 9% pullback in these stocks. And if we did, it would be totally normal, but everybody would freak out about it because recency bias, programs us to say, okay, this is how the market is. These stocks only go up. That is the mindset of the market right now. So everybody's watching these and sitting back and sipping a cold beverage and saying, hey, I'm a big winner. I can't lose. These stocks are only going to go up. Market's perfect. It's not going to be like that forever. So I'm waiting for that moment when those people start to get scared, because that's when things are going to get interesting. And when we do start to see those stocks moving down, I think we could see one of two things. We could see the big stocks move down and drag down the major averages, but there's good trades on the long side under the surface because that hot money goes somewhere else and they start buying up something else. Or we could see a situation where the big stocks drop, things kind of get ugly, and then people sell a lot of stuff across the board because they get kind of spooked. And then we get kind of this overall high correlation type of correction pullback Neither of those things would surprise me at all. Actually, I'm kind of leaning toward the fact that maybe kind of everything gets knocked a little bit. Um, since the vibes are so high, since everybody is so happy about the market right now, at least the people who really, the CNBC watchers are very pleased with how things are going. So I'm thinking that maybe we get a little bit of a surprise move lower, not a shock, but like anything between 5 and 10%, it would be perfectly normal to see that type of drop right there. So I'm very interested to see how things react and what pieces sort of start moving higher after we get an event like that, because those type of volatility events, those little pullbacks, those corrections, those can lead to some really great entry points for fresh trades. Matt, you popped back up. Do you want to talk? You're just going to nod and smile?
I wish I'd use sign language right now. I would sign language to you. No, I was going to say this is a good transition into semiconductors because that is an area where you think there is going to be a pullback. So why don't we
Yeah.
pull some of those bad boys up?
Well, it's not that I think there's going to be a pullback. It's like I know there's going to be a pullback. It's just a matter of when, right? I mean, there
Mhm.
always is going to be a pullback. It's just really hard to time it. You can look at a chart like this of SMH, and this is the entire sector right here, at least the big guys. And you see something like this big red candle here. This is called a bearish engulfing candle. You don't have to know that, it doesn't matter. But I mean, it's generally considered a bearish look because it's a flame out move. It's where, your stock pushes to its highs right here, well above the day before, and then starts to encounter some sellers. People start taking profits and down, 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 and then pushes lower and closes for a 4% loss after, being up a few percent on the day. So that's a big intraday move, a big intraday reversal. And you can see how this big red candle completely engulfs the green candle from the day before, generally bearish. And it makes sense why that would be, because it opened with euphoria and then it closed with a lot of people selling. So generally not great. Now, generally not great because statistically, it doesn't really tell us that much about how people are going to react after the fact. One would assume that we'd get some downside action from this, which we occasionally do off of potential reversal candles like this. But as you can see here, after some follow through on Monday, guess what? People were right back into their old ways right here, and trying to buy up. Are you Matt? Matt's making fun of my mustache in the chat right now. It's unbelievable. I'm trying to host a top trades call here, and I'm getting heckled from the guy with no voice. So what we see here is we're seeing a little bit of a correction here today, but this is by no means like sounding the alarm. I don't think this is a great short. I don't think this is a type of look here where I would like go all in and say, oh, we got to buy a bunch of puts in the semiconductors right here, because I still think it's possible. I mean, maybe not probable, but it's possible that this thing could keep ripping higher. These things always go on longer than we think. There's a lot of irrational money. There's a lot of FOMO. There's a lot of people chasing these semiconductors. I mean, like, I don't have to show you guys in the video, do I? You know what this chart looks like. It just keeps going. And like, it's like there's no point in me trying to draw these lines anymore. It's like, okay, move it up here, and then, all right, move it up here. I mean, where are we going with this thing? It's just going up, up, up. So there will be a time when these things really start to move lower. I'm not saying they're going to totally fall apart, but they got to run out of gas. The last person in on the NVIDIA story has to be coming up at some point here, and then we're going to get some type of corrective action. No, I don't think it's going to fall apart. I don't think it's going to go to new lows or anything like that. But this has just been a historic run for this stock. And every time I've thought that it was going to fall off a cliff, like this is right before earnings right here, where people started selling it and getting nervous because they're like, oh no, actual numbers, that could be scary. Nope. Gapped up and ran 16% the next day. So shows what we know. We just have to be aware of what type of environment we're in. It's very frothy out there for the semis, and these are very high priced stocks, not the type of stocks that I could really get good options on anyway. And the volatility is through the roof too. People are paying a crazy premium for these out of the money calls. Everybody thinks $1,000 is a foregone conclusion. I think if we hit $1,000, maybe that'd be a good spot for it to actually turn around, because it's a big round number that everybody will be watching, and they'll say, all right, well, now we're going to go to 2,000. It's just going to get crazier and crazier what people think. And so eventually when the consensus is like this thing's never going to go down again, that's when it's going to start to drop. So that's how I'm thinking about the semis right now. Yes, they just won't die at the moment. They will eventually. I don't see a trade in it for us. I see better trades elsewhere. And the elsewhere that I'm talking about is all the good stuff that's happening in commodities, specifically the metals right now. If we look at copper, this is the big breakout of the day. I was watching earlier this morning. Um, I don't know why my chart is blank. Um, Let me pull it up on the old FinViz right here. So here's copper. It is going to settle above $4 today. This is a big, big move for copper. $4 is an important level for copper futures right here. It's been sneaking toward there, and I was watching it late last week, and in typical copper fashion, it sort of just drifts, and then pow, explodes. Well over $4 today, up 3%. If we look at the weekly chart, it's also compelling. You can see here how it looks like it's really breaking out of this big choppy range right here with authority. And I think that's going to lead to some good trading opportunities right here. Yeah, I like FCX. Maybe after it settles down a little bit, that's a great play. This is probably the play with like the most liquid options. I was looking at copper, like pure copper plays today, and there's really only two uh, uh, of any considerable size, and it's Southern Copper and FCX. And Southern Copper, I mean, it's a little bit more expensive. It's actually a little bit bigger than FCX, believe it or not. It's about $10 billion bigger market cap wise, but its options, aren't very heavily traded. So FCX is kind of the copper trading vehicle out there, and it looks very good. Obviously, big move from FCX today, coming up here and topping its December highs. The chart's a little messy, obviously, but I think it's moving in the right direction. It's up. It was up like it gapped up, and it was up like 4 or 5% when it gapped up, and now it's just pushing up. It's up almost 8%. Good trading stock. Just an excellent trader overall. I've traded it a bunch of times in the past, so definitely worth paying attention to right now. But you can see if we go back to what's happening in futures, look at all this green down here. We have silver finally making a move today. It wasn't up this much earlier today. Let me get my good charts up here. Silver is really rocking and rolling finally, and I mean, I think that's because we're starting to see a turn. We're finally getting to the point where I wouldn't be surprised to see silver really start to outperform if we get into that type of speculative metals market. I talked a lot about how, like, back in December, my only concern about gold breaking out was the fact that silver wasn't doing anything and the miners weren't moving at all. But now we're starting to see everything sort of fall in line. So maybe we're starting to see this push back into precious metals. I think it would be excellent. I love trading gold miners when they're behaving. I don't think they're good. I don't think they're good investments, but I think they're great trading vehicles. And we have an options play on GDX right now in the chat. And I really like how it's setting up. I like the big impulse move here off of this almost breakdown here below the October lows. Definitely a laggard that could play catch up here. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I have a short-term target of $32 on this. I wouldn't be surprised if it overshoots that in the next few weeks. If it really gets going, that would be perfect. A great way to set up heading into the second quarter right there. Just to have these stocks start to outperform again would be excellent. Matt is asking about the dollar index, and I think that's where a lot of the energy is coming for this dollar move right here. We talked a lot about the change of character of the buck following its bottom here in late December, but it's really, really starting to roll over this month. You can see here, this is the beginning of the month right here, where it looked like it was going to try to push and hold over 104. It did not, and it is now having trouble holding the high 102s. I would not be surprised to see it come down here toward 102 in the weeks ahead. It looks like this is the real deal, and this is going to roll lower here. That's going to help a lot of things. It's going to help all the rate sensitive names. It's going to help all the risk assets, stocks, commodities, you name it. So just keeping an eye on the intra-market stuff. I think that dollar weakness could be the wind in our sails for this gold trade to really get going. I think it could help really set up a bunch of new trades in the entire space, because like I said, look where the green is right now. We have this big line of green right here. Copper, palladium, platinum, silver, gold. I mean, look at gold setting up. Gold out of nowhere when everybody kind of quit paying attention to it, because you guys remember what happened back here. We had the first monthly close ever above $2,000, and then everybody piled in on that Sunday night right there, and it just went sideways ever since then. It faked everybody out, and now, I mean, we've had one bad day out of what? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's been up 10 in the past 11 days. Gold is rolling right here, and it's still, I'm surprised it doesn't have more eyeballs on it at this point. Maybe that'll work in our favor right here, because there's just so much going on in the rest of the market. I mean, look at crypto. Crypto's going crazy. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of chirping out there saying that, and I can kind of see how this argument makes sense. There's a lot of chirping about how, like, oh, Bitcoin and crypto is stealing it's stealing all the old school gold investors away. It's kind of the same type of folks who are, you know, the anti-dollar people who are buying crypto, you know, who would be buying gold. It's stealing those potential younger gold and silver investors, and they're in crypto instead. It may or may not be true. I think Matt and I have talked about that before, but that's just speculation. I'm more interested in what's happening right in front of my face, and right now, looking at that gold chart right there, that looks mighty good. I would love to see some consolidation here. A push above 2,200. I mean, these are all-time highs right here anyway, but a push above 2,200, another round number. What I said back in December still stands. I still think that this could pretty easily roll over the next few months to $2,600, no problem. You know, I mean, we're looking at a massive breakout going back, you know, to 2011 practically. So multi-decade breakout here, which is incredibly important psychologically and for a bunch of other reasons. But I mean, I think something's definitely brewing here. I would love to get in and out of some gold miner trades. We're already in GDX. If this is the direction the market wants to go in, and if this stuff stays afloat once we get some sort of tech reset, even better. It's fine with me. You know, bring on all those rotation trade people. You know, if they're looking for hot trades, you know, and they're done and they get washed out of whatever semiconductor they're playing, come on and play gold stocks. You know, we welcome all comers. Is it time to go long gold with shares? I don't really know what we mean by that. Oh, yeah. I'm talking about like shorter term trades, just momentum moves for the miners, because they're so beaten down. And then once they really start setting up again, I think they can really show us some nice short term gains. As far as like my longer term outlook on gold, yes, I think gold is going higher. I think 2,600 gold, you know, is a decent target if this breakout really gets legs, which I think it could. And I think it's becoming more probable by the day. But I think that really is going to set off the miners, because we're going to get an environment. If we're in a bull market environment for gold, and it's very obvious to everybody, then I think there's going to be more speculation that trickles down into the miner stocks. And so we'll have to see what they can do. But it'll definitely snap them out of this malaise that they've been in, you know, for the past, you know, more than several years. So keeping an eye on that stuff. So gold miners are hot. What's not so hot right now is crypto miners. There's this weird thing happening in crypto. This is my little segue into crypto, which maybe I did an okay job with. Maybe Matt will hop in the chat right there and chastise me again. But I think that no, you're just going to appear.
Yeah, I appear, but the miners, man, if anyone was holding them, I think we said this last week, but I started shedding shares of a Clean Spark. I still have some of them, but they just completely decoupled. For a couple possible reasons, right? One, you've got the halving coming up. Maybe they're not going to be mining as many coins. And two,
Right.
they were the proxy for playing Bitcoin. Now there's real Bitcoin ETFs out there. maybe people don't want the proxy anymore.
Yeah, I mean that it's entirely possible. I would still think, I mean, I'm interested in that argument, but I would still think that like the miners would give you maybe a little bit more leverage, because
They should. Yeah.
they should, maybe. I mean, I don't know. That's just it. But you can see how messy CleanSpark has gotten right here. When we were talking about it, this is an old line that I had drawn on this chart right here. We were talking about it breaking out, or at least attempting to break out of this flag right here from this huge move, um, heading into March, and then I mean, it did just that, and then it started to fizzle, and now it's just a choppy mess. I mean, heading into early last week, it looked like this thing was going to rip again, and then you get a look, another one of those bearish engulfing candles right there. You get another one of those um, this week. So there was Friday right there, and Friday it looked like it was setting up, and then on Monday this week it just opened higher, closed lower, and now it can't get off the mat. What does Mara look like? This is kind of the same story. Worse. It's really interesting to see what's kind of happened with these stocks that used to be the hot trades. And Riot and Mara look kind of exactly like CleanSpark looks a little bit better, but you can see, I mean, great trading vehicles, obviously, if you can catch these moves, big moves higher and lower. So good two-way traders right there. But I mean, they don't look a thing like Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin's pushing new highs today. 73K for one Bitcoin. Not
Dude,
bad.
the narrative there is still, I can't get away from it in the sense that people just keep saying 100 grand and you've got the halving. It's just
Yeah.
going to get so much more press. So we'll see
Yeah,
what happens next 3, 4 weeks. We could see some fireworks.
yeah, I mean, I think that's everybody's mind has gone to 100K. I mean, it's we've been saying that since it crossed 50. It's like people are going to start talking about 100K soon. And if they have the buying power to chase this thing up that high, honestly, nothing that happens in crypto shocks me anymore. I've become numb to it. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. Why would you need? Robert makes a good point in chat. Why would you need like like a pick and shovel play, like a Mara or a CleanSpark when Bitcoin's just going straight up? And plus, all the other little coins are dancing all over the place too. All this other stuff is happening in the crypto space. All these penny cryptos are just rocketing higher. So why bother with these stupid stocks when you can double your money on some meme coin or whatever that is they're trading over there. I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's just kind of out of my league. It's very interesting stuff that's happening. And these things come in waves, but I mean, even it's not just those. It's not just the silly little ones, the cartoon coins and the dog coins or whatever. It's Bitcoin itself. It's Ethereum. There's a real breakout happening here. And I mean, talk about like crazy charts. This Ethereum chart is spot on. It looks almost artificial. The lack of volatility here and it pushing higher. Maybe we'll get one of those. I mean, and we got kind of a squirrely day back here. This daily chart doesn't show it, but I mean, this retreated briefly all the way down to 3,200, but when it was up to 3,800. So there have been some little shakes, but no real big shakeout moves for Bitcoin and Ethereum right here. And now we have Ethereum kind of getting up here close to those all-time highs. I talked about the Ethereum catch-up trade. Maybe that's here since Bitcoin is at new highs. There's obviously opportunity there. It's very volatile. I mean, it can be very volatile. We could see, and like I said, nothing surprises me in crypto. We could wake up Monday morning after hanging out this weekend and not looking at our phones, and all of a sudden Ethereum is at $6,000, or we could wake up and it's at $2,500. No idea, right? So you can get these crazy moves, especially we know how crypto operates. Whenever you have like a holiday or it's a Sunday night or something, for whatever reason, it tends to wake up the crypto crowd and things start moving. So again, none of that would surprise me. Nothing surprises me in crypto just yet. This has been a pretty picture perfect move. So if we did get some volatility, if we did get some crazy resets before it starts moving higher again, so be it. I definitely think that, I wouldn't say like, yeah, definitely like it's time to chase, and dump a ton of money into Bitcoin and Ethereum and all this other stuff right now. But I do think that this is probably more sustainable if you can handle the volatility than some of the moves we've seen in the like the semiconductors and in big tech so far. I think that crypto has shown that it can really be incredibly explosive, more so than any other asset class. So while I think that, something like Nvidia, you still have to consider, at some point you have to consider how much money is the company making, what type of valuations is it. It's a whole separate can of worms with crypto and how you're going to value this stuff. So I would think that we're going to see more talk about crypto. Maybe we have crypto summer again, where we're just ripping higher and there's new coins that people are buying and all that stuff. We'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely been through the crypto winter. We've seen the bear market, and now it's kicked back into gear. I don't really know what to make of the crypto miner stuff, other than I think there are no touches right now. I don't think that it would be wise to try to play something like CLSK on this messy type of consolidation, just because of how back and forth it's been. I would much rather, I mean, if it does break down here, maybe there's some sort of downside play to play like a gap fill toward like $10 perhaps if it does that. But for
You want
right
to pull
now,
up? Do you want to pull up like some of the ETFs? I've got options on BITO,
oh, Bito,
upside
can
Veto,
we
and then the
can we call it
Fidelity.
Bito? Is that
I don't
allowed?
know. The Fidelity ETF, I think is I've heard good things about it as well.
Okay.
Let me find that ticker.
I mean, I think these would be better bets than the miners at this point. The miners have kind of broken from, is it
Yeah,
Alan and
F.
Flex, is it IBIT?
There's FBTC. Yoshi, yeah, Yoshi's got
FBTC.
it. Yeah. And
Um,
FBTC, I like it because it's got the price, right? The price is around,
mhm,
oh, is that one? I don't know. It's kind of like GLD and gold. It's
right.
close to the price and you can kind of get a feel for it. Maybe this isn't similar to that, but
I mean,
um
directionally it looks the
close,
same.
it's
So
close enough. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, like I think this type of play, if you're not just buying the crypto, then these type of plays are fine for right now. I think there's been some chasing in these too. I mean, it's just it's very funny to me how like we see these different crypto stocks like decouple and then recouple with the market. We've seen it before where back in the fourth quarter we had the crypto miners like just shooting higher and Bitcoin wasn't doing anything. And it was like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? They had kind of a life of their own. So we'll look to see if those correlations sort of snap back. But if they don't, there's always these Bitcoin funds. And you say you play options on these, man?
Yeah, BITO.
Oh man, what a degenerate gambler playing options on
That's
Bitcoin ETFs.
that's what when I leave the clean spark arena, I go to an area where I can do options on something else, and BITO is so far a nice trading vehicle.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it works, it works, right? So,
Yeah.
um, maybe I'll have
All
to
right,
look.
what else do we
I'll have
got?
to,
Oh, I'm gonna throw a bunch of tickers in. It's just stuff that's aggregated from the chat. You can get on some of them, or if you've got
okay.
other topics, we can hop on that too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, while you're doing that, let's take a quick look at oil, which is quickly approaching $80 again. It's been a little wonky right here, but I've said that my line in the sand with oil has been this $80 mark. And you can kind of see why. And this line, I don't know how this line got down here. It's so low. But $80 right here. If we can get above $80 on WTI right here, I think people are going to start paying attention. I think that that energy has been kind of slowly, it's like one of those slow grinding trades that's been slowly setting up. We've seen some interesting breakouts so far today. I've been talking a little bit here and there about keeping an eye on energy over at the chat. And I know some of you guys that hang out with me there know all about that, and we've been talking a lot about it. It's been a lot of lip service and not a lot of trades in that because I've been waiting for this to happen. It's firming up again. Keeps on tagging this area, and again, it's just a matter of, is it going to chew through all that supply and break out right there? I think it's possible, and then maybe we'll have some energy. You can see how XLE is snapping to attention right here. So maybe XLE is the tail wagging the dog, or however you want to see it. but there's some nice looking breakouts in energy that are pushing higher today, and I want to get involved if we can on some of these stocks because again, I don't think this is an area where there's a lot of eyeballs right now in the market. I think, again, I'm not trying to be a broken record, but I do think that we're overdue for a rotation, and that there's way too many people on the tech side of the canoe who are just blindly buying like Microsoft and Nvidia and those stocks. I mean, it's an incredibly strong chart. I get it, but I think there's some good oil plays. I think there could be some good traders out there. I know there have been some decent breakouts from this morning. I have a short list of them, so I'll be talking about that as the week goes on as well. Yeah, Jimmy says I've been waiting for an energy upside play. Me too. Been kind of just patiently waiting and making sure this thing's going to go. So I'm interested in seeing how that works out. Let's dig into some of these charts that Matt posted. He's aggregated from the rest of the chat, and then we will call it a day. INTC gapped lower on earnings right there and has been kind of a mess ever since then. This looks sideways to me. It's definitely stuck in a range. It tried to halfway fill that gap and got rejected. It probably just needs more time. It looked like if I'm playing guessing games with this thing, I would say that, okay, it looked like it broke out here ahead of earnings, and people were expecting more from earnings, and they got disappointed in guidance or whatever it was, and they sold the thing off. It was down 12%, and then it hasn't gotten its footing because there's been so many other better momentum plays in the tech space, and so people are just not touching this one. So that's what I see with this chart. SILV, yeah, look at that. See, silver stuff starting to work. Running off of earnings, no less. Yeah, that's kind of a wonky candle right there, but it's pushing higher today. Maybe we'll get some sort of consolidation, but it looks good. I think these are going to start snapping back, and as you can see, like silver really hasn't gotten moving yet. It's starting to poke its head up, but not really, and we're already starting to see like these smaller like pure plays start to run. So that's interesting to me. Looks good, probably good speculation. NTES looks good too. Kind of shook off some of that post-earnings weakness right there and is attempting to push higher. Not a terrible looking chart, but like still kind of messy. I don't think it's the end of the world. Definitely been building, had a nice few days right there, and is pushing higher off of this little downdraft right there. I think you could probably go back up and at least test 116 and try to get back up there, and then you can reassess from there. For Rio, we were just talking about this earlier this morning. For whatever reason, these stocks here have not kept up. The Vale and Rio have not played nice with the other metals. I don't know if it's a Brazilian thing or what, but both of them are way down in the dumps. I think the North American stuff looks a lot better right now. Your Southern Coppers, your FCXs, other stuff. Like for whatever reason, South American stuff just isn't. And I don't know the fundamental reason. It's just not. It's not where it's at right now. CCJ, this is uranium. This stock is so hard to trade. I don't know why it doesn't play nice. It just doesn't. I've always been like, I've been trying to get. I was earlier. So back in Q4, I was like trying to get in on some sort of trade. I never pulled the trigger on it because it just wasn't setting up for me the way I wanted it to. And then we got this sort of topping out, and now it's moving lower again. We got a bearish engulfing followed by another bearish engulfing right here. I don't know. Maybe uranium needs a hard reset. But I thought these stocks looked really good, and then they started flagging in February. They just haven't really woken up. So it's interesting to me that we're seeing like all this bullish activity in copper and gold and silver, but uranium's just not playing nice. Don't know why. Maybe it's just a secular a cycle thing, and it'll snap back eventually. It just needs to reset. Beats me, but I don't see a trade here really. Maybe a little bit on the downside, but I don't know if I want to play it on the downside. This chart can get wonky. You can see here where it looked like it was nice and tight and going to break out, and then, does terrible at the end of December, snaps back, gaps higher, and now it's back down. Messy. I'd like something that behaves a little better. What else? Excuse me. Um, Taiwan Semiconductor. Yeah, man, these semis, they just go, go, go. I mean, obviously they look like they were all flaming out. This is kind of doing the same thing as Nvidia and them back on Friday. It's not that I'm like shaking in my boots worried about it. I just, I don't know. I mean, it all depends on what your entry is and what your goals are with this type of trade right here, what your time frame is and all that. Um, there's a lot riding on whether or not it can bounce here in the 140s, I would assume, since those are the prior highs right there from late 2020 or is that early 2021 into early 2022. So if it can like consolidate here and bounce higher, it's all good. If it can't, then maybe it has more work to do and has to go down. Not really sure. IONQ, this is a stock I see that pops up a lot. Yeah, it doesn't look healthy to me. Obviously was a heck of a trader last year, just straight up.
Yeah, and I think they were asking too on the downside,
Yeah, I
playing the
see that.
downside by IQ.
Yeah, I don't know if this isn't helpful. Take that off. Yeah, I mean, downside, like it feels like there's a line in the sand somewhere around $9. And if it breaks below there, then it's in trouble. Um, Conversely, if you get a nice bounce off of there and you're looking like longer term, that's a good risk reward spot to hop in on the long side, you
Yeah.
know? Like if you get a nice big green candle off of like this area right here where buyers have stepped in, maybe this is done and you get a nice move higher. But when you're wrong, if it drops below 9, then you're out. So that makes sense to me too. You can sort of look at it both ways right there. It's nice to have a nice clean level to look at and kind of plan your trade off of. And then AMD, it's going to be the same deal. It's the same chart, right? Kind of, sort of. Looking a little weak after that big red candle last week, but still in the stratosphere. So those are tough. And especially when you're involved in something on the long side, like something that has we all know that feeling, right? If we're lucky, we all know that feeling where we've caught a hold of a big winner and we're sitting there with big gains and we see it dancing up here near its highs, but it looks a little weak. You're like, ooh, what do I do here? I think taking profits couldn't hurt on something like this. Don't get too greedy and try to like pick the tops on these. That's what really gets you in trouble. If you find yourself like, let's say you manage to ride this thing up from like $90 and you're at close to $200 and you find yourself saying, oh, I'll sell this thing once it gets back up to 205, 210. That's when you're in trouble. That's when you're going to talk yourself out of making money on this stock because then it's going to go down 5%. You're going to say, okay, well, if it can only get back to 195, I'll sell it there. And you see where I'm going with this. And then it snowballs and then you end up breaking even or worse. So just be aware of all the psychological tricks you'll play on yourself to avoid selling. And don't do that. Easier said than done. But yeah, let's see what else. Yeah, Randy mentioned SCCO. I think it's great. This is the other pure play like copper stock out there. It's a massive breakout right there. The options are not super liquid on this, but this is a big old candle. A gap and run, up almost 11% today. Great stock, looking good. And TRIPLEU. I'm probably gonna think the same thing about TRIPLEU or Quad U as I think about. Yeah, like what's going on with these things? And I don't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, something's going on with uranium. I would avoid it. I would avoid it for now. So let's see. Man, we got more. Hold on. People are just flooding me with tickers today. This is good. I'm not complaining. It gives Matt's voice some rest right here. So ARM, this has been a hot IPO since the fall. And you can see it crushed earnings and was up like 50% on the day after crushed earnings, and people are still buying the thing. So it looked like it was rolling over, and then they're buying it again right here. For a short-term trade, I might try something like this on the long side if it can really build up. I'd keep it on a tight leash though, because It's a newer stock. It's incredibly volatile. I feel like this is one of those stocks that could easily drop like 20% in a day and then just be like, oh, no big deal, and just keep on marching along with its life. So I think you got to watch out for stuff like that with these, but obviously very strong stock. This is a name that has a lot of eyeballs on it. So so yeah, like I don't know. It's a tough one, and I assume that, options plays for this are a little ridiculous right now. It's a known quantity out there. You're not like just be aware that there's a lot of eyeballs on plays like this, and there's a lot of people throwing big money around on them, and so I think that can lead to a lot of volatility. And you can see how
Mm.
messy the chart's gotten over the past like few weeks. So it's a tough trader, but I get it. I get it. Looks good. Um, are BA puts crazy? Maybe. Um, I don't like news plays because I feel like um, that adds another layer of difficulty to the trade. Um, because you don't know what the news cycle is going to do to a stock like this. Um, Obviously, Boeing is in shambles. It's a complete mess. I feel like every single day we hear about like some plane halfway exploding in midair and then finally averting tragedy. So, Matt, did your doors on your plane stay on while your flight
No,
back from?
I was doing work. It was like a month or so ago, and I was doing work from the plane, writing to all our employees. And I was like, I'm on a 737 or whatever, where it's like every seat is an exit route because it's like the windows will just pop out of the plane.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
everything was all good yesterday, though. So we're good.
yeah. I mean, I
I
can
don't know
believe.
if you want to. I saw SMR in there. I think that's new scale. That's another. It's like the module reactor nuclear play. Um,
Wow, that looks really good. Yeah,
Yes. So that one you might be, and again, I don't, this is fundamental, Matt, but that one you might be getting the story. Like that one's had some
yeah.
the idea of small module reactors, SMR, that story is gaining steam, you know. You can just pop these little module reactors. They don't
Yeah.
have the ability to melt down, and you can just stick them places where you need energy, like charging systems, EV chargers, or whatever it may
Yeah.
be. So,
Earnings are tomorrow, so
oh,
that's a no. That's a no touch for me. But I do like the run up into earnings. Like this is one of those stocks that could just rip on earnings. I can just tell. You don't need to tell me what the story is. Looking at this chart, it's like okay, like people are raring to go. You can see this volume in there too. Like so, yeah, kind of a mess. But is this a SPAC? Must be a SPAC. Looking at this chart going back here like this. But yeah, I mean, could totally rip.
any
Or could do the opposite.
any
So
snack that's over $2, you know, it's kind of
who knows?
respectable.
Yeah, who knows? So yeah, oh, Sydney's asking if she missed Square or GDX. Yeah, Square. We talked about the earnings drift and how it worked out. Good trade, everybody on that one. GDX still bullish on it. I think this is only the beginning. Big change of character coming into here. I think short term $32, and then we'll reassess from there. But we have our open calls position at the trading desk. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about all the metals. This is fun. Like I like different areas of the market popping up. So we will see. We will see how this develops. But I'm excited about this. So someone's asking Square hold or sell. We sold our calls today in the chat. So that's in the wrap up email as well. Um, and it has. I mean, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's still a sell right now. It hasn't gone down a ton. It's right there in the $85 range. I know some of you guys like to hold on to a partial um, on these trades, and that's fine too if that's how you want to do it. I know you guys have your own strategies going. Good for you. Um, but yeah, it's officially a sell. We've sold the entire position in the chat. So another new entry this week. Yeah, I mean, I hope to buy something new for us tomorrow or Friday in the chat. I wanted to see what how things shaped up today. I was looking at copper stuff. Maybe something like that. We'll have to see where the market takes us. But yeah, definitely I want to get in on something new toward the end of the week to hold over the weekend. And then finally, it's almost 3 o'clock, but finally somebody's asking about SoundHound AI. yeah, it's breaking out of a flag and it looks really good. Looks like it crushed earnings, or at least, well, crush is whatever you make of it. It's going up. How about that? There's a positive reaction off of earnings, and it's headed in the right direction. So, this to me looks like, this looks like a bus stop right here. Um, Maybe just a little bit of a flag right there, and it's breaking out above that. And so I would assume that for, I don't know, you could be aggressive and think this thing's going to $10 from here. Um, wouldn't surprise me too much with something like this. And obviously, this is AI, so AI is hot. What people want.
Yep. All right, Gunnar. Well, we're wrapping it up here. We've got, I mean, again, we're going to keep an eye out. The good part, you didn't say this, but for anyone that's in the trading desk, Gunnar's paid publication, he's not forcing trades. He's not saying, oh, I'm going to do a trade every Wednesday or every Monday or every whatever. He's taking what the market's given him. So it's just something you got to tune into, be in chat in the morning. If he sees something he likes, and that's what we like about you, Gunnar. You're regimented. You're getting in, layering a bunch of things on your side. And that's what allows you to take gains like Square. You guys, I think officially it was 97% in 12 days. Yeah, nothing wrong there. That's a perfect textbook trading desk trade. So, Gunnar, thanks for your time. Next week, I'll be chirping some more. All right. Oh, wait, I wanted to put one more thing in. Sorry. Don't no one leave yet because we're on a live Zoom. And once it goes away, it goes away. Here in the chat, I'll put this in. In the chat, copy and paste that or copy that little link. That is the replay of yesterday's live stream. Again, we love Gunnar. We love his trading strategy. All good things. But if you want to hear from James Altucher on AI and crypto stocks, that is an hour and a half long, all free tickers, coins, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in that market. Go ahead, give that a click. We were in Austin yesterday. The live stream went down after 58 minutes, but it was an hour and 40 minutes long. So that replay, it's got a scroll bar. You can go ahead and scroll in and whatnot. So Gunnar, sorry I took some of your show here.
All good. Oh,
Through it
fine.
that way. But if you want something to watch, you can scroll through that. Tons of cool stuff there from Austin yesterday. And guys, thanks so much for all the participation. As always, we love it. And Gunnar, I'll see you tomorrow in chat. Go from there.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. Matt, go drink
Thank
some tea
y'all.
or something.
Got to do something.